My name is Sarah Villaggio. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Carnegie Hall here in New York City. Have a few of my team here with me today. I know a lot more of them are watching online, so special shout out to the team. But I actually, I will remember my intro, which is that my pronouns are she, her. I'm a white woman with curly brown hair and brown eyes, and I am wearing a white top with black pants that I discovered on the functional workwear yet stylish side of TikTok recently. And I am wearing sneakers because I wanted to, and I'm a little bit over heels since COVID, so here I am wearing my Nikes on stage. I'm really thrilled to be here with this incredible group of people and leaders in our field, though, because I know this is a topic that's been on all of our minds and obviously facing all of us when it gets back to that whole theme of pressure. Our goal today is to really, as Priya said, be transparent. Like, let's talk about what's really been going on at our organizations, what the trends are that we're seeing. Let's also have some solace in the fact that we're all in this together. None of us are in this alone. Hopefully some of the data points that we'll share will give you the right tools to have good conversations at your own organization when you're talking about what's happening with subscriptions and membership. And finally, just taking a page out of my boss, Clive Gillinson's book, our final goal is to just inspire all of you to ask the right questions. What are the key questions that you need to think about at your organization as you head back home here in New York or elsewhere? So I'd like to turn it to my fellow panelists to start the intros. So Sarah, start with you.
Hello, I'm Sarah Billman. I'm the Vice President of Marketing and Communications for the University Musical Society in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I'm a white woman, use she, her pronouns, short brown hair, brown eyes, wearing a black dress with a black, dark orange, and gold scarf. And I will pass it over to, nope, I'm supposed to do my thing first,
yeah.
sorry. And we talked about this, and I just have short-term memory issues. I've been up since 4:20, so. UMS is a multidisciplinary presenter on the campus of the University of Michigan. We actually present in a variety of venues ranging in size from 250 to 3,600. And we present about 50 to 60 events a year, attracting audiences pre-pandemic as high as 85,000. We have subscription models that are both fixed and flex package, the fixed primarily driven by genre, as well as a large number of student packages, and certainly the student population at Michigan is a big one. So with that, I'll turn it over officially now to Alan and the Steppenwolf team.
Thank you, Sarah. My name is Alan Waite. I use he, him pronouns. I'm a white male with blonde curly hair and glasses, and I'm wearing a blue sweater with blue dress pants. For Steppenwolf, I'm going to let Penny Maria talk a little bit about our organization and our membership models, and then I'll touch base a little bit on where we are in terms of our metrics.
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Penny Maria Jackson, PM for short. I am the new Director of Marketing and Communications at Steppenwolf, and Steppenwolf sits on the traditional homelands of the Council of Three Fires. I am a plump, brown-skinned black woman wearing an African print dress and a golden head wrap. So Steppenwolf is the premier ensemble theater of our nation, if I may say so. We have 3 stages, 2 of which we use for our main stage series. And then we also have a smaller, more intimate black box, which we use to support community members, including individual artists and smaller theater companies who don't have space themselves. Our memberships, we have kind of 2 veins. We have a classic memberships for our traditional audiences. These are usually the people who have been with us pre-pandemic. And then we also have a new Flex membership that we've been working on that was sponsored by the Wallace Foundation. And this includes a black card and a red card. And they're flexible memberships. You can purchase 1 ticket for yourself or 6 tickets for your friends. It's 6 tickets per membership. And with the red card, we target people who are under 30 because we want them to get into the arts as well. Now I'll pass it over to Jack.
Thank you, PM. I'm Jack Wright. I'm the interim VP of Audience Engagement at the Phoenix Symphony. My pronouns are he and him. I'm a white male with a growing bit of gray hair, wearing black rimmed glasses and wearing a black sport coat. Phoenix Symphony is a 63-member orchestra that performs in Phoenix and other cities in the Valley of the Sun. It's led by Virginia G. Piper music director Tito Munoz, who's a native of Queens. Pause for applause. Thank you.
Yes. Wait,
right.
I just heard that. Great.
We are the resident orchestra at Symphony Hall in downtown Phoenix, but we perform in multiple venues across the valley, 7 of them this season, this coming season, 22-23. Our programming breaks down into traditional categories of classics, pops, and sort of special events. Current season is 33 weeks. Subscription sales typically make up about 30 to 40% of our annual revenue. And our current offering, now greatly simplified, which we'll get to later, is one very flexible subscription plan and one very generous College Club plan. So far going reasonably well in both categories.
Excellent. Okay, thank you, everyone. That was wonderful. Okay, so here we are talking about these things. Before I proceed to the next slide, I would like to issue a disclaimer, which is that the numbers you're about to see may in fact be disturbing. So just had to put that out there before we go there next. But we're going to talk, the team here is going to talk a little bit about what trends they have actually seen at their organizations. And I want to just say I commend them all for being super brave and open about this. So Sarah.
So what's going on at UMS? You know, actually, I'm not as bleak as it may appear on the screen.
Thank you. We all need some positivity.
If anything, I would actually say I'm reasonably optimistic about where things land right now. We certainly, compared to pre-pandemic levels, have seen a slight drop in our subscriptions, but the recovery has happened much more rapidly than I envisioned. Our renewal rates this year, admittedly with a lower denominator, were at pre-pandemic levels, even slightly above pre-pandemic levels. We had a lot of new subscriptions, new subscribers, which I'll talk about later, and we're really starting to see the number of packages come back to where they were before.
Awesome, thanks, Sarah. By the way, we compared this to 18-19, just so everybody understands, because that was the last full season that any of us had. So over to Steppenwolf.
Thank you. Yeah, so where we are at Steppenwolf in terms of metrics over the last couple of years, looking at our 18-19 in our current season, we're down in 45% in revenue and about 44% in total packages. So we're down by just under a little under half of where we are. When we start to drill down into those numbers, looking at our comeback season last year, our 21-22, in this current season, our 22-23 season, we did see about a 30% increase in revenue due to the increased number of main series shows, but we also still saw about a 14% decrease in number of packages sold year over year. So what does that mean, and where do we go from here? When we think about our membership offerings, our classic membership offerings, and our flexible offerings, for this current season, classic memberships are done. But what we really have an opportunity right now is to refocus on our flexible membership offerings. Penny Marie and I will touch base a little bit on the sort of impetus for us building this program back, some of the strategies that we're using around retaining our lapsed members from our 1920 season who haven't returned, and really starting to understand and realize how membership revenue and our membership model works at Steppenwolf. I think the recovery is going to be in fits and starts, and it's going to be different across genres, but that's where we are today. But we're optimistic with Sarah in terms of our specific flexible option that we're about to roll out.
Jack?
Thank you. At Phoenix Symphony, there's actually, rather than so much a data point, but one of the things that jumped out at me in the surveys from the end of last season was an aggressive split in the audience regarding COVID protocols. And I think this is probably something that there are places where the acceptance is complete or near complete, but that's really not true in Phoenix. It's very much feels like 50-50. And we think that's the reason why subscriptions are down so much. Single ticket numbers are really, they're a mixed bag from show to show, but we've seen some full houses that were very encouraging. But on the subscription side, there's a lot left over around COVID protocol. There's also a lot left over around trust with regard to all the cancellations in 1920. We've heard quite a bit about that.
Yeah.
dispensation of funds, but also if you put it on your schedule, does it mean you're actually going to have it? I don't want to go through this again, et cetera, et cetera. Not data points other than survey data points, but they're driving a lot of the thinking on the subscription side. The single ticket audience is coming back aggressively when they like the show. They love Jurassic Park with live orchestra.
I mean, who doesn't?
Boy, did they come back. And for some things, it's been that sort of brutal 50% number that we're looking at.
Excellent. All right, yeah, I mean, it's not so desolate, okay? There are nuggets here, so we're going to get to more of the nuggets. Anyway, okay, so let's dig into some of the topics we wanted to cover. I really wanted to ask the group a little bit of, what happened? How did this drive change? I mean, we went through this massive upheaval. It totally hastened the trend that we'd been seeing before this, that whole, our subscription's dead conversation that we were all having before that now got really fast. And I'm curious to hear, maybe the Steppenwolf team could start with just how did this drive change at your organization?
Yeah, so it was really interesting over the last couple of years. While we knew where membership numbers were landing and we knew we were down pre-pandemic, it really started to become in focus for us for our first show of this season. And to talk a little bit about single ticket buying behavior and either excitement around a show to come or not excitement, I guess you should say, it really started to bring into focus that conversation on what membership does for the start of the sales cycle for the entire show. When we found with lower member numbers, we have a much harder hill to climb as it relates to the single ticket sales campaign. It's sort of that trickle down effect when you talk about the pipeline, when you talk about the patron path they have through your organization. When you have less members that are committed to your organization and talking about your organization, the word of mouth, all of those components that we talk about to help build momentum for a show, that built-in capacity doesn't exist. And so we've really had to focus very strategically on single ticket sales campaigns. The reason that we had to do that is where we were within our season. Classic memberships were done, we had stopped selling those, and that was our product that we had available for sale. So what we did is we came together, Penny Maria and the marketing team came together, and we really thought intentionally about what it meant to be a flexible member and what it meant to participate in that program at Steppenwolf. And I'll let Penny Maria talk just a little bit about the relaunch of that program.
Yes, so we're actually right in the midst of it. We launched on Wednesday. And the first phase is really centering the audience member, right? And so we are making it, to use our leadership terms, a little sexy, right? We want people to be excited to come back to the theater and re-engage with us. So we're first targeting our existing audience, people who we know, some lapsed members, and really drilling in to try to connect with them. And then this will have other iterations where we'll turn it into a holiday campaign and then a New Year campaign. And really, we've adjusted the prices of the Flex membership packages so that they're more in alignment with the Classic membership, so you're still getting an even greater deal. And then we're also looking at access, right? Because that's what membership is all about. It's not just about a discount, but it's about being part of Steppenwolf and have an agency. I'm going to bring you to my theater, right? And so we're looking to create that sort of environment for our Flex members. We at one point also considered for the Red package, which is for people under 30, adjusting that age range. I know here from my experience in New York, some programs go up to 40, but we also were trying to be mindful of cultivating the next generation and trying to bring them along. And so basically we brought down the first price point of the Flex membership package, which is for preview performances, so that we can front load and try to get some of that word of mouth going on, to a very accessible price point so that people can come back. And it's just ever so slightly an increase, but it's really welcoming them back into our audiences. I think last season was a little bit of a false start because we did a 4-ticket package, and like some of you, we've probably we've been trying to kind of figure out what the right balance is for our typical programming, along with visiting artists. And so we included one of those visiting performances into our season. And we see that we had a really great turnout with that, but it was kind of a false start, as Alan mentioned. So it's fits and starts. Some progress here, some setbacks here, but we're adjusting the levers and we're going to figure it out. And it's going to be a few years before we can get back to anything that was at our pre-pandemic levels.
Thank you. Okay, so 40 definitely is the new 30, just for the record. Just got to put that out there. But one thing I just want to note is just what you mentioned about the reliance on single ticket marketing, and I'm wondering if anyone else is feeling that pain out there. Is just like, oh my gosh, we just had more than 30 events in 30 days at Carnegie Hall in the month of October, and we are really tired. So, but really, trucking along. But anyway, Sarah, I wanted to ask you about this too, just in terms of UMS, what you're seeing in terms of change opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. In the past, we had a lot of different fixed packages, mostly genre-driven, but our artistic team really viewed the packages as much as a PR campaign and a way of communicating priorities as it was a marketing campaign. So we would put all these packages out and sell, 8 subscriptions to them, and it just felt like such a waste of energy.
Did you just say
I did say.
Just want to hit on that. That happens. Okay.
So we really scaled that back this year and kept it to kind of the high level things. As I mentioned earlier, we had over 500 brand new subscribers. I mean, brand new. Now we opened our season with Trevor Noah.
That helps. That's great.
And it did. And 56% of those new subscribers bought Trevor Noah, but the upside of that 44% didn't.
Absolutely.
So there's some optimism to look at there. And so I think if we can kind of stay focused on keeping the level of choice minimal so that it's easy for people to choose. I will say 95% of those people who bought the new packages did the Flex package. Mm-hmm. That is clearly the future for us. People want to have agency over what they're going to see and when they're going to see it. And I hope we can keep that moving forward.
It's a great point about flexibility. More on that to come. So next question, I wanted to start with Jack on this one, but really, what's on the test and learn list? What are you experimenting with? Because I think you've done some incredible new experiments over in Phoenix.
Yeah, it's a pretty significant experiment underway. I want to start by saying, because I have interim in my title, that some of the data points or I'm talking about historical data and historical events. And everything I say with love in my heart. I'm not trying to be critical of people who made these decisions before. So I just want to go on the record as saying that. Having said that, the fixed package model that was in place at Phoenix Symphony was Byzantine, to say the least, and in my estimation, broken down in genre silos of classics and pop subscription, 10 to 13 shows a year. And that model was shuffled over 7 price zones in Symphony Hall to 17 to 20 pricing grids in the back of every brochure that subscribers were expected to navigate. And my feeling was that we weren't asking them to make decisions based on the artistic product. We were asking them to make it essentially on price and essentially not making even that very easy. And so I wanted to simplify it. But not go all the way to the membership model. I don't think the organization's ready for that sort of thing yet. And so what had been happening was the fixed packages were declining precipitously since 15-16. That's what I mean by the historical data. For whatever reason, it had been a precipitous drop since that time. That simplified the process a little bit in the sense that clearly the audience was voting with their feet. Flex was staying steady. Flex had been launched fairly recently, but very much put in the background and kind of buried in the brochures and materials. But it was staying steady and occasionally rising. Overall, there were more people engaged with it if you looked at churn over a multi-year than there were in the fixed package, which was just dropping like a stone. And so there was a decision to be made about when to do that, how to do that, how aggressive to be. And so essentially, fixed packages are gone at the Phoenix Symphony. So far, no one's crying about it. But the questions we were asking ourselves at that time, could we make the move of the fixed buyers to a flex package environment? Would they come with us? Also, is the Flex option attractive enough for new subscribers? That question really had kind of been answered in a pre-pandemic context already, and seems to be the way the wind is blowing in a lot of places. There was also the question of whether they would accept the loss of rollover seating, which this Flex package does not use. Although with the numbers where they were, capacity-wise, we were able to give them pretty close to what they were getting before. So I was also concerned about a lower average revenue or ticket count. And in pass, essentially none of that came to pass. The conversion rate for fixed package folks from 21-22 has been 79% into Flex package.
I mean, that's awesome. Okay.
So it's a good number. Didn't make it onto the slide, but it's a good number. It's 79.
We only had the dark numbers.
yeah.
Then I looked at it and said, this is really depressing. Go on, sorry.
And so far, and I think in part, some people that are buying now have been habituated toward buying more shows. So for now, the orders, the dollars per order, the number of shows per order is up in both categories. Revenue's up about $3 per order. That's going to go down over time, I have no doubt. The renewal rates for the Flex package renewal from last season is sitting at 46%, which is something that we're trying to now aggressively address. So clearly, we're not out of the woods with regard to this, but our fears were not founded that folks would come along. The way we did it, and I don't want to take up too much time, but the way I'm convinced the way that it worked for folks was that we were not presenting them with a strictly digital or direct mail option, but that we did a very engaged, soft sell with a very friendly ticketing staff that many of them knew, and we walked them through the process. And that, I think, was the difference maker.
I love that example because it just speaks to the power of connection with the
Exactly.
organization. You know, in addition to like actually, hey, we have something new. How are we going to communicate about it with you?
Right.
Just the fact that people came back because of, I think, that connection.
Yeah.
So that's really powerful. And hearing lots of like flexibility and simplicity themes going on too. So just want to mention that. Sarah, I wanted to ask you your thoughts on this one too.
Yeah, I mean, this is it's a funny question because the main series at UMS has been a 10 or 11 and occasionally 12 concert series in our main hall of orchestras and major recitalists.
Big commitment.
Big commitment. And when I started there as an intern in 1990,
Bravo.
we had over 2,000 subscribers to that package.
Right.
And before the pandemic, it was down more like 550 to 600, and coming back, it's somewhere between 300 and 400 now. And that sounds bad, but I'm actually looking at that a little bit too as an opportunity, because all of a sudden now we have fewer seats that are committed to by subscribers. And certainly if there's anything that the past couple of years have taught us, it's also this, why do certain people get access to the same seats? Mm-hmm. Why do certain people get to reserve the best seats in the house if they're not donors, if they're not subscribers? Should we really be prioritizing people who are, rich and, or I should say wealthier? They're not all rich in Ann Arbor. A lot of them drive Honda Civics, but although that's hidden wealth. But so we've been kind of thinking about, one thing I really want to try. I haven't figured out yet how to implement it. Is what if we moved a student section, a GA student section, into the main part of the house? What does that look like to really let some of these seasoned people who have been attending for decades see that there's actually interest in this art form from younger people, and that they're not just sitting up in the balcony? Because we can sell 700 or 800 tickets to some of these big orchestras, but they're up in the balcony, so they're basically invisible. So we've been thinking about that. And then I think the other thing that I've been kind of in my mind toying with, and again haven't quite figured out, is some sort of pay what you will scenario. But because almost everything that we do is a single performance, it's a lot harder to say, Wednesday night is going to be pay what you will night. Oh, Wednesday night's a Berlin Philharmonic, forget that. So we're kind of mulling that over as well, but haven't quite figured that out. So maybe next year.
Thank you. I think that point about different people in different seats is really interesting. I'll just say I went to the Met Opera recently, and the gentleman next to me said, "It's so nice to see young people here." And I was like, "Thank you. Wow, this is great. I'm in." So I did want to talk about, getting off of what Sarah said, okay, there's been a decline, obviously. We all have more capacity, inventory available. What do we do with it? So does that open up a new set of opportunities, for us to do things a little bit differently, because not all the seats are taken up by subscribers early on. So Steppenwolf, you want to take that one?
I'll start us off this
Cool.
time. Yes. So we also noticed that our new to file numbers were extremely high. And so we took this as a sign that, okay, we're doing something right because we're attracting new audiences. Part of that is our programming. Steppenwolf has been intentionally working to become more inclusive, and with this, we noticed that there's also a need to shift our audience engagement tactics, and that's part of the reason why I'm so excited to now be part of the team. So we're really looking to build up those new relationships. And I say relationships because it's not transactional, right? We want to make it ongoing and make sure that these people can come into the space, no matter who they are, and understand that they're seeing a play on stage that reflects something in humanity, in their spirit, right? And so we're actually, I think the whole pandemic forced all of us, not just companies like Steppenwolf who were a part of the Wallace Foundation campaign, but we're all doing that research to really learn, explore, figure out who this next generation is and try to connect with them. We're also looking to understand what the disconnect is between our lapsed members. So we're commissioning research to kind of look at both quantitative and qualitative data to find out, what exactly is holding people back. We have all sorts of assumptions, but we can't really finalize that until we know what the actual results are, and then that can inform our plans and our strategy going forward. But as of now, we are really excited to engage with new audiences that reflect the entirety of not only Chicago, but of the world. And so, Sarah, I also will say, we have a $20 ticket program. We sell some tickets in advance, 20 for 20, and then also depending on what our availability is for a show that day, you can also get tickets at that price point. And these tickets are always gone, they're always sold out. So we know that that demand is there for affordability and for access as well.
I like the idea of what can you do last minute for the people who are last minute who only want to pay a certain price. I think that's good. We should all think about that. Let's see. I think one thing I wanted to ask about too, just pivoting a little bit, is, well, actually, I just want to add quickly that single ticket, this opening of inventory has really, I think, introduced a new opportunity for all of us to welcome those new audiences like all of you are speaking of. We had a couple concerts. We've had 2 concerts at the hall, one a week or so ago, and there were 83% brand new people in the hall. So that was inspiring, and then over the summer there was one at 87%, which I think is one of the highest we've ever had. I'm looking at Karen in the audience who's nodding to confirm that. But I think it's actually really exciting to think about, there's somebody brand new experiencing this for the very first time, and then maybe because we didn't sell this on subscription the way we always have, we had that opportunity. So anyway, I did want to talk about timelines because subscriptions, we're asking people to purchase and commit to us way far out. I think earlier in the day they were talking about relationships a little bit. Emma was, on the rom-com vibe, which I very much appreciated, but I think it's a lot to ask people to commit so far out. Sarah was talking about, a 12-show package. It's a lot to ask. So I'm curious to hear, about all of your thoughts, and I welcome everyone to jump in on this, but just the timeline, is there anything we should be thinking about doing differently? Anything you want to do? What would you do with the timeline if it was a blank slate?
Well, we typically announce our season in mid-April, and for the first 3 months are only on sale with subscriptions. And gosh, by the time you get to about July 15th, you're desperate for new content and new things to talk about. So when you mentioned that you were hoping to go back to, I think it was a January announcement.
We're going back to February this year.
I mean, I just don't know how you keep that momentum building for that long with that same message to, really the same smaller group of people. But I certainly wouldn't want more time. And in fact have been even starting to think, are there ways of truncating that further? But again, with working in a university community, nobody's paying any attention to anything in July or August, so we might as well just stick with what we have.
Yeah. For context, our timeline, because we're a presenter at Carnegie Hall, we're rolling out programming before many of the orchestras and the artists appearing. So it's all like a calculated announcement schedule. But I'm really curious about how, whether or not we can regain some of the fixed packages this cycle. So that's kind of one of the main things I'm looking at this year around. But others, happy to hear more about timelines.
Yeah, I think for Steppenwolf, when we went on sale last season with memberships, we had a significantly condensed time frame. And as a result of that, I think we still saw the decrease in packages. We weren't really able to dedicate the resources and energy in sort of a 2.5, 3 month campaign that we had pre-pandemic. And so I think that's now a question in the organization around programming, around timing of when we confirm titles, and when we're able to announce to the public and go on sale with renewals. I think getting back some of that time. I don't think we'll have a 3-month renewal cycle, but 6 weeks is something that 6 weeks is not enough time for us in order to deal with all of the complexities around opening a new venue and communicating with members on their seating in different venues when seating locations aren't known that early in advance. So I think that timing, we need a little more time, but we'll do the best that we can with the time that we have.
So I want to, there's a red light blinking at me. So I want to actually open it up, if that's okay, Jack. Sorry to miss you on this one.
No worries.
Jack is here available afterwards for questions, conversation, and through DM. Just sorry, Crawford used that. I wanted to open it up for Q&A to see if anyone in the room or in the chat has questions. Hi, over there.
Hi, I have some questions from the chat.
Great.
How much do you think programming has to do with revenue and subscriptions being down? Are audiences being more picky with entertainment options, do you think, after learning so much about streaming during the pandemic?
Interesting. So the question is, how much do you think programming has to do with people making choices, essentially, about what they're attending? Can you repeat the second one?
And how much do you think streaming options that people have explored during the pandemic has impacted this as well?
Anyone want to take this one?
It's just a little bit of playing a hunch, but I feel my sense of it is that the audiences that were coming in the past are not coming, not because they've aggressively changed some particular habit in the moment, and the evidence that I have, I wouldn't call it data, is watching the audiences that are coming back and how they're feeling about the process. And the excitement levels of the people who are choosing to come out are off the charts. I don't think anybody's getting that same level of excitement in a streaming environment. They might be getting different content that they couldn't get otherwise. But my sense is that that's a long-form problem more than a COVID return problem.
Right.
That's my sense of it.
You know, it's interesting. I was on a call a few weeks ago with Alan Brown, and he mentioned that in the surveying that they've continued to do, they've discovered that the lapsed subscribers who aren't coming back are not coming back because of health and safety concerns.
Yep.
And the other people who aren't coming back, it's because they haven't found the program that they're interested in. I thought that was actually such an interesting way of framing the audience, because the lapsed subscribers are your loyal people. They want to be there if they feel comfortable.
Yep.
So it was just, for me, that was a really kind of an aha moment about thinking about why people are or are not coming back.
I think the competition is also just really stiff for all of the theaters that are still open and operating, which is a blessing in this time, right? So it's not just streaming, but aside from that, people are going out less and less, right? So if they used to come to every show we did a season, now maybe they're coming to half of that, and they're splitting their time between Steppenwolf and The Goodman, for example. And so I think it's those choices that are really impacting us negatively. But shows are open all around. People still want to see live theater. They still need it. They crave it, right? So we just, I think, have to figure out the right balance artistically. And in another meeting, I actually said, I think as an institution, right, we've rebounded and we're ready, almost near pre-pandemic levels production-wise, but the audiences, they are not at that level. And so that's something that we really need to examine and investigate as we move forward.
I've been talking a lot about that exact thing too. I think the market has actually risen back to pre-pandemic levels, and the audience is not quite at that level yet. So I completely agree with that point, Penny.
I'm not sure audiences will really notice if we do a little bit less either.
I know that's a great. I think that's a great point too.
Yeah.
Our survey data really does bear out that notion that it's, for so many people, it's the fear of being in a public place
Right.
now. That's still lingering.
I agree.
But it's not so much that they are living their life in some way that they're differently, that they're more satisfied with. They're not happy about not coming back, but they're
Right.
not coming back.
Although I think also we're competing with people's couches,
Yeah.
more so than we ever have before. I'll just say that. I think everyone's so tired. We've been talking a little bit about that throughout today, and I think that's happening for our audiences too. Everybody's a little bit tired, so it actually takes that much more to be motivated to come out and see something, I think.
8 p.m. is late.
8 p.m. is late. Also, let's just say real quick, 8 p.m. is really late, and then there's an intermission or two. But in New York City, I think one of the things that's been happening is transit. People are nervous about being out after dark and taking the trains home, and so I think that has been a theme that we've heard here and there as well. All right, next question. Let's keep going.
Do you see the flex subscription model potentially leading to less support for smaller name shows, new works, or shows that push the envelope? So in other words, do you think flexible subscription models might be a major threat to artistic innovation?
Ooh, that was a great ending to that question. The question being, do we think the flex packages are going to leave us with orphan shows, just to paraphrase it a little bit in terms of sales? We talked a little bit about this in some of our pregame panel sessions. Welcome people to jump in on this.
I think it's a real risk.
Yeah.
I do think, I'm looking just at the Phoenix Symphony sort of model, and much of the programming that is new music programming, for example, is not available on subscription. It's not booked on the same cycle. And so it's already sort of behind the curve from a subscription standpoint. But the orphan show scenario is, you can see a subtle dip that wasn't there. But we went back and looked at the scan rates from the shows to see whether people were buying different programming and just not showing up. And they were showing up for it. And so that gave me pause about whether we need to find, we can't, this model's not one size fits all by any means, and it's going to take some work, but I'm not sure. I think the damage that fixed packages, if they're too large, have the potential to do is greater than that they will do to programming, but that's my calculus. Everybody has their own.
Definitely. And I think there's that false bolster of a show, and then somebody inevitably comes back to me in the budgeting process and says, but it sold so well last time. What are you talking about? Why do you want to price it that way? Why are you projecting this way? And actually, sometimes things were just elevated falsely by these fixed packages too. Demand, in other words.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to add anything on this?
I think, go ahead, Alan. Okay.
Team Steppenwolf.
I was just gonna say, I think it also depends on what your company is known for. So Steppenwolf is known for being an ensemble theater. So we have names who are constantly part of our season, well-known names from stage and from film. So I think that helps in this particular instance. And then also we're known as an incubator, right? So people know that, they might see the next big show at Steppenwolf before it goes to Broadway. Alan, do you want to add anything to that?
I was going to say, for our flexible membership model, people purchase a set of tickets. So what they're buying is a credit. So they're not actually buying a show. They have to redeem for the show that they want to see. And so that's a little different than CYO, what other organizations may have, where you're purchasing a fixed number of performances across the year or within a certain time frame or certain programming. But what we're starting to do now is understand what the usage is of that for our flexible membership program? Where are our Black Card members attending? Are they attending at the beginning of the run, the middle of the run, or are they? Is there a correlation with redemption as it relates to single ticket sales? And is there any type of data that we can extrapolate from single ticket sales that would give us an inclination on how we can project sales for Black Card redemption? So I think as we move forward with the relaunch of the program, starting to get into the nuances around what that means, and is this model the most effective model that people want to purchase into now? Do we have that right product? And we're getting the data now. It just this week we just relaunched. So
Yes.
Awesome.
I would just add that I think that's a bigger issue for producing organizations than it is for presenting organizations. And for me, the flex model actually helps us identify the problem children earlier, so that we know where we really need to put additional effort and focus on. But like I said, we're doing 1, maybe 2 performances of almost everything, so it's not as big of an issue.
Great. I think we have time for one more question.
Do you see a world where subscription models include shows or performances across multiple organizations?
Ooh. Has anyone ever tried that before? Because it's so hard on the back.
Does that mean you would not see that?
I don't know. That's a really good question. Do we think that we could see subscription packages across organizations? Well, I'll just say quickly, I mean, I think this speaks to the lag in e-commerce in our world, and just, how do we use technology to better create a more frictionless, to go back to boot camp like 5 years ago, experience for our customers? And I think when we talk about acquiring new households, new people, welcoming them into organizations, what are their expectations, online? And I think that kind of speaks to me, gets right at the technology piece of it, because we're not going to be able to develop those things unless the technology catches up to the dreams, the aspirations. So curious if others have things to add on that.
Yeah, we tried that, gosh, it was probably 20 years ago with, yeah, you get
That's a long
the
time.
seasoned person here. And a whole lot of work to sell
Yeah, a lot
8
of
packages.
low ROI is what I've encountered as well.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
we did that model in Chicago years ago where you could purchase you can purchase a package at different venues, and that has since fizzled out. So,
And it's fizzled. Jack, anything you want to
We've
add?
done it a little bit. I was involved not in Phoenix, but in a past life. And it requires an awful lot of trust between organizations to make
That's
it work.
true. It's a good point.
And speaks to the culture of the given sort of DMA or whatever that, does that trust exist?
And then you're giving your email address to 5 organizations instead
Yeah.
of just 1.
It's a lot of admin work. Anyway, so we're getting towards time here, and I wanted to close circling back to the objective stated at the top of the session, to really think about the questions that we're asking. So I asked each of the group to just share a burning question on their minds as they're heading into this next campaign cycle, because I think Priya said it earlier, we definitely don't have all the answers in this area. We have, I think Penny Maria said it too, we have a few years, I think, to kind of come out of this and understand where we are. And I was talking to my former colleague, Mrinalini, earlier, who reminded me that, all the data is like not what it was. So we're all kind of, looking at the best possible data set we can. But with that, would love to, do we have a volunteer to go first on this one? I didn't pick an order. Jack, I'm
I'll
looking
go first.
at you. Awesome.
At the risk of forcing the conversation into a slight pivot. One of the issues that the symphony has in Phoenix is the geography of the Valley of the Sun, which I love as a name. It sounds invented, but it's they've called it that forever. Maricopa County is the 5th fastest growing county in the country. And that's been true for some time, or something similar in terms of the influx of people from all over the country. And so that growth has led what were disparate cities to grow into each other. But all along, the downtown Symphony Hall environment that is the core of what the symphony's offering, both in terms of venue and programming location, is alternatives have been created all over the city over time, because it's an immense geographic area that we're talking about here for Glendale and Scottsdale and Mesa and all of these towns. And so we're looking at, and people have dipped a toe in this water before, but we're looking at ways that we can expand venue locations on a more consistent basis. Easier said than done when you're putting 63 people on a stage. And so what I'm very interested in doing is tapping into the data sets coming in of new to the Valley folks. And the best way that I've found to do it, other than the lead generation, which I will be following up on, certainly, per these conversations, is it feels like a Hail Mary and it feels very old school, but is trying to get in very early in the process of talking to new arrivals. And those lists are available, they're affordable, you can go at them with very inexpensive direct mail, and that's something we've done a little bit of, and I want to do a lot more.
Excellent. All right. Thank you. Stephen.
So I think we all know that the membership model was kind of fractured even before the pandemic, right? So we're just now trying to rectify what was already heading our way. And I think for us, this is an opportunity for world building, for trying to figure out what the future will look like. What those audiences will look like. And so for us, it's a chance to, I think, dig a little deeper in the connections that we're making to all of these new to file people, trying to really speak to them organically. I'm one of those people who like to stand in the lobby and listen, during intermission. And,
Love it.
And before the show, how'd you get here? So I like to collect information organically too. And I'm really looking to see how all of that data can inform the future that we're looking to create, which for Steppenwolf is a more inclusive view, not only on stage, but also in the audience as well.
Awesome. Ellen?
And then the biggest thing I think is as we go into the third membership cycle, as we come out of the pandemic, what that right sizing is, what that looks like. How does memberships, what does that affect on the budget? How are budgets laid out across memberships and single ticket sales? And what is that membership base? Where are we going to land? And how long is that arc? 3 to 5 years, 5 to 7 years? Will we ever be back to 18, 19 numbers? And I think that's the question we talk about in the office every day. What's the future?
Well said. Sarah?
I would say I have two burning questions. One, of course, is more practical and immediate. Can we keep all of these new people that are coming in, or is that truly the Trevor Noah effect? But the second one, I think, so often our subscription packages have been developed around the artists on the stage and not really developed for the people who are attending. And so I think a lot about how can we kind of flip that model and develop things for certain groups of people rather than develop things based on who's going to be coming. So as an example, for us, we just did a small, modest, not super successful campaign for new faculty members to the university. And I don't think we laid the groundwork right for them to be ready to receive that kind of offer, but that's a group of people where we can put something together that makes sense for them and is a way of engaging people early on.
Great. Yeah, I think that comes nicely into what I was going to share, which is that, I've really started to wonder what is it that we can do for our audiences, like just really taking a step back. We think of subscribers as people who bolster our audience. They're the base. They're setting us up for success as we head into a new season. And I really want to think about what we as organizations and as marketers and as caretakers of audiences, what can we do to inspire them to be a part of our world? So I hope that this was helpful. Thank you so much, Jack, PM, Alan, Sarah. What an honor to be up here on stage with each of you. So thank you.
And with you.
And thanks everybody for listening, tuning in, being here.